Alright guys, so everybody talks about why it's so great to buy a house. It's the cornerstone of building wealth. But as somebody in the business, I'm going to tell you 4 reasons that your parents won't tell you, that your realtor won't tell you, and the media won't tell you about why buying a house can get actually very expensive. The bottom line, whenever you approach buying a house, is you want to ask the question, what is this doing for my net worth? What is this doing for my net worth? So here's number 1. Actually look at an amortization table. If you don't know how to find one, download the Zillow Mortgage app and input the numbers and then swipe right here. So for example, let's take it back here. Here's a $650,000 house where you're putting 10% down, right? You got a decent interest rate, you got your PMI in there, you got your home insurance. So now swipe it to the right and you can see here where your payments go. So if you look at it here, in your first month, $982 is going towards your principal. $1,500 is going towards your interest, okay? And that's not even including the property taxes and the home insurance that also don't go towards your principal. So at the end of the day, in your first month of owning a home, you're preserving $982.56 towards your net worth. That is opposed to renting, where none of it gets preserved towards your net worth. So if you go down the list, as you can see in this amortization table, a little bit more every month goes towards your net worth, right? But if you look at the very top, you'll see that you're gonna pay $317,000 of interest over a 30-year loan. And if you look at this part that says all your payments, you're spending almost $1.3 million. So if you are getting that $650,000 house, almost another $650,000 is gonna go to a bunch of nonsense like interest, taxes, and insurance. Now again, look, this is better than renting, where over the course of those 30 years, you would have nothing. At least in this case, you would have $585,000 and your down payment, right? So that's how you look at it. That's how you look at what this house is doing for you after those 30 years. Number two is maintenance. So again, you want to see what this does for your net worth compared to renting. So let's say a roof gets damaged. When you own a house, that's $12,000 or $15,000, let's say. When you're renting, you don't have to spend that money. So at the end of this year, in a bad year where the roof gets destroyed, the homeowner's net worth is going to be decreased by $12,000 or $15,000, which is the cost of the roof, and the renter won't get hit with that. So you want to parlay this loss against what the home does for you. So like I said, in the first year, let's say you're getting that $900 or so a month and preserving towards your net worth. So that's about $12,000. But let's say you spent another $12,000 on the roof, so it cancels out. You're almost kind of at the same spot as where the renter was when you started. So that adds up all throughout the years. Over 30 years of loan, you're probably spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on maintenance on a house. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars that you wouldn't have to spend if you didn't own a house. So again, you have to really measure this up against what you're making and what you're spending on the house. Utilities, guys. Number 3 is utilities. Don't forget about it. So when we talk about your mortgage payment, let's take this $650,000 house, for example. Sure, your mortgage payment is $3,400, which is not bad. But remember, you have to pay utilities. And of course, when you rent, you do have to pay this too. But a lot of people overlook how expensive it is to run your house, especially in Los Angeles. Especially during the summer, you might easily be spending anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a month running the AC and the water and all that good stuff. So again, when people say, hey, owning a house is a cornerstone of wealth, well, hey, you know what, compared to maybe living in an apartment where you pay no utilities or less utilities, yeah, you're spending another $500 or $1,000 a month of money that you're not gonna get back. That's not helping increase your net worth. So number 4 is, okay, so let's say you bought a house, it's gone up $100,000 in value, and you've been making payments. So in equity is about $200,000. Well, the thing is how do you get those $200,000? Everybody says owning a house is the cornerstone of building wealth. Okay, great. So you have $200,000, but how do you access it? Well, you either have to sell it or you have to refinance it. Both of those are pretty expensive. So when you sell your house, that's great. All that equity starts to get chewed up after a while. You got to pay the real estate commissions. You got to pay the transfer taxes. You got to pay the escrow fees, the title fees. All this stuff adds up, and suddenly that $200,000 that took you forever to build, it starts to actually look like $150,000 of equity. You gotta think about this too. Not to mention the closing costs that you paid when you bought the house too. That's also money that you're not gonna get back. Remember, closing costs is about 2%. So for the $650,000 house, that's not going towards your net worth. That's just lost money. So you have to weigh all these options against essentially the other alternative, which is just renting. At the end of the day, when you make this decision, ask yourself, what is this doing for my net worth compared to renting? So there you go, guys. 4 ways that you really need to have a hard look in the mirror at when you're buying.